So, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ernesto Amaral. I'm going to be the professor for this course, Population Society, Sociology 312 this semester. Meeting here in the same room on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11:10. And I usually organize a website, a page within my website with all the course content. So all the course material that I'm going to use here, including lectures, the slides for the lectures, and extra readings, extra videos that if you want to watch, I will post them all in this website here. And if you just go to my main website, you can see my picture pre-pandemic, now with my crazy long hair. And here you can read a little bit about me, my CV is here. I'm originally from Brazil, and I got my PhD in sociology with a concentration in demography at UT Austin. Went back to Brazil, worked there for a while. Then I taught there in the university. Then I came back to the US and I worked in a research institute called RAND Corporation in LA. And then afterwards, I moved here to Texas A&M in 2017. And this class, I have been teaching it, this specific class, since the fall of 2018. So that's a little bit about me. If you just forget that full link to the course website, you can just go to ernestoamaral.com. Under teaching, there is demography, and here, Population and Society, Spring 2022. The syllabus, which is also available in Canvas and Howdy as well, it's also available here, and that's the one that I'm going to go through with you. And so, for example, the lecture that I'm going to go through today after I present the syllabus is available here as a PDF file, okay? The Canvas website is really simple. It's pretty much the course description and then course information here. The COVID-19 statement that's available in the university website, I just copied it here. The assignments that you're gonna have, I'm gonna talk about them, you're gonna complete them and submit them in Canvas. So all in the exam days, we won't have face-to-face classes. You can take the exam any place, it's an open book and so on. And then you're gonna be able to see your grades here. So I don't post the material in Canvas, I just post everything here. Canvas I pretty much use just to receive quizzes and exams, okay? So just going through the syllabus, the course website, that's where I'm gonna put all the material. And if you go through the website, right now, only the lecture for chapter 1 is available. If you click in the other ones, it's not gonna work, but I'm gonna upload them throughout the semester. But any other links that you try to click and doesn't work, just let me know, because some of those links might not, because some of them are external websites and sometimes they change, so just let me know. The Canvas website, this one that I just showed to you, I usually send emails to students, like by email, and then I copy that email as an announcement in Canvas, just to have it recorded there. But if you wanna write to my email. I don't check the Canvas inbox. Some people write me on Canvas and I never read it. I just read email, okay? And that's where I'm gonna receive the quizzes, exams, and any possible extra assignments that we might have throughout the semester. As you can see, I'm recording this lecture on Zoom, and I will post it on my YouTube channel. That's how I have been doing these last few semesters. I don't do hybrid anymore because if there are people at home right now and logging in Zoom and participating through the chat, it just gets really messy. So I just record it. If attendance, I will not take attendance throughout the semester. If you don't want to come in person, you can watch the lectures afterwards from home or from anywhere, okay? And the YouTube channel, really simple as well. You hear just an example of how it was in the previous semesters, fall 2021, spring and fall 2020. And I started recording this exactly during the pandemic. So I will just create another list here for spring 2022 in the top of this one. And these ones are pretty much day 1, 2, and it will be in the reverse order for the current semester. So you see the most recent lecture up front right here, okay? So all the lectures will be posted here in the YouTube channel. Sometimes I have problems with the first day of classes, microphone doesn't work, the battery stopped working. I try to solve all the issues. Let's see if this first time is gonna work for this semester. And so that's me. My office is in the academic building, 415. My email, my office number. I actually prefer to have office hours nowadays by Zoom. And so I don't have a specific time in the week that I can meet you guys, because sometimes you would be busy, you would be working or attending another class. So I'm more flexible. If you wanna meet with me, just email me 48 hours in advance and we schedule a time to talk. And I meet you on this Zoom link. When you first enter it, you're gonna be in a waiting room. And as soon as I see you or not with another student, I will let you in, okay? So what are we doing here? We are pretty much gonna talk about introduction to demography, right? So that's the main of the overall topic of this course called Population and Society. We are going to understand the basic concepts and trends of demographic indicators and demographic changes that have been going on in the world and specifically in the US. And demography has 3 main components: mortality, fertility, and migration. So at the beginning now, I will give an introduction, talk a little bit about all of them. And then afterwards, I will give you some, we will discuss a little bit some major changes in demographic indicators that the world has been passing these last centuries. And then I go to the US, and afterwards, I present a little bit more of a theory of demography, kind of like being a little bit what other studies have been found of changes in demographic indicators in the human history that can help us understand our current society. And then after that, I will focus on each one of the 3 components: mortality, fertility, and migration. In previous semesters, I covered more chapters, but my goal now is just to cover up to the chapter about international migration. And then you have a good overview of demography. And I mean, it's just because I think and it's not easier covering less subject. I just go a little bit more in depth on in each one of these subjects, okay? So I do bring a lot of discussion to the classroom. So demography is the scientific study of human populations and the changes in size. It's not just about the size of the population, if we are increasing or decreasing in size, but also the composition, the distribution, where these people are living within countries or across the world. And I will also, during the semester, have a lecture talking about, within the lectures of each one of these points, I will cover methods. So for example, I will explain how you can estimate the total fertility rate, how you can estimate the life expectancy at birth, how you can estimate migration rates. So I will give you the methods and give you examples of how those indicators, the results of those indicators. So the topics related to population growth and decline are a major in demography, but also age and sex composition, where we can find data to analyze demographic changes. And a major topic here is to link demographic changes into our society. So we are trying to understand how demographic transition is associated with a series of social and economic outcomes. And the main idea of this course is not to be technical. We're not just going to talk about methods to estimate demographic indicators. It's about understanding how these changes in demography are associated with other aspects of our life, of our society. So this emphasis on how demography is associated with these other factors in our life is called social demography. So here we're going to be talking about social demography. We're going to be talking about how demography is associated with other aspects in our society. It's not just about methods. There is another class, 320, demographic methods, and in that one, we focus more on only demographic methods, okay? And so all these concepts here, mortality measures, epidemiological transition, causes of mortality related to the component of mortality within demography. And also, we will deal with a lot of aspects of fertility and migration throughout the course. And what I try to do is understanding these changes that societies have been passing in the last decades and the last centuries, we have an idea of how government should act in order to implement specific policies. So I will link also this discussion to specific policies that should be taken and which policies have been taken that are not based on science. They're just based on pure ideology, on pure racism, on pure discrimination, right? So here, we're gonna focus on science and how this scientific knowledge can be used to improve people's lives, right? And so the scientific background to implement policies is a major topic. It's a major aspect of this class. It's not about opinions, it's about science. Course learning objectives. Upon successfully completing this course, we expect you to identify main concepts and methods in demography related to fertility, mortality, and migration. Explain these links between demographic changes and economic outcomes and other sociological indicators and public policy issues. Evaluate general demographic trends throughout the world based on public available data. Public available secondary data. So secondary data is when someone else collects the data and we go there and analyze the data that this other institution collected. And there are a lot of like data sources available to us over there. And I'm going to show you some of them that we can simply go out there, get tables, graphs. We can get really detailed data and do our own analysis. Perceive, analyze, and discuss the dynamics of human populations. Investigate population issues from the perspective of social sciences, right? The textbook that's required, and that's listed here in the syllabus, is this Population Society by Dudley Poston and Leon Bouvier. Dudley Poston, he used to be a professor here. He used to teach this class, and he retired in the spring 2019 was the last time that he taught this class. And so I used his book, but a lot of material also get from other sources, and I put them into the lectures, right? So in the lectures, you see some other tables, graphs, maps, and material that's not, you cannot find it here. And at the same time, some of the material in the textbook, I do not cover in the course. So I kind of like make a mix of different things throughout the semester. Like I said, the course website is the most important place for you guys to collect material from this course. Grading. We pretty much gonna have 4 exams, exam 1, 2, 3, and the final exam. All of them with 40 questions, multiple choice questions, and 0.5 points per question. During the exam days, like I said, we won't have face-to-face classes, and you just go to Canvas and complete the assignment, right? The exam. The exam is going to be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on the exam day. But once you start it, you have 1 hour and 15 minutes to finish exam 1, 2, and 3, and 2 hours to finish the final exam. I'm just following the university rules, okay? We are going to have 20 quizzes throughout the semester. So by the end of the specific classes, quizzes will open in Canvas. It will be 2 multiple choice questions and 0.5 points per question. So 1 point per quiz, and 20 quizzes, 20% overall of the final grade for this class comes from quizzes. And what I have been seeing is that a lot of people miss quizzes and they don't take it seriously. I mean, I suggest you sitting down, have your notes. Everything is open book. You can have the book, you can have the course website open, you can have the slides printed or open your computer, everything there, and then you take the quizzes and exams, okay? A lot of people, really few people get A's within the quizzes until by the end of the semester, right? So because they don't take the quizzes seriously as they do for exams. And 20%, it's a lot of a great portion of the grade, so be careful there. Yeah, and on Canvas, what I do, I create these question banks, and Canvas randomly select questions for quizzes and exams. So the questions that each one will get will be different. And also the order of the answers will be different. And once you answer one question, you cannot go back. And you see only one question at a time, okay? It's open book, it's at home, it's more flexible, but we have to have some system there. Do not miss exams, final exam and quizzes. Every point is important. All assessments will not be graded on a curve. So whatever point you got there, that's it. All assignments will count. I will not exclude any quiz with like low or exam with lower points or anything like that. I do not round up the grades. So 59.9 is an F and so on. 69.9 is a D, is not a C. So just make it just really clear since the first day of classes. Since you're not competing with others, I do suggest to you creating study groups. I think some semesters people use that GroupMe app. So you can do it, of course, just communicate with each other by email or whatever way, studying together or face-to-face or through Zoom or whatever way you want. And I encourage that. The exams, like I said, will be all online on Canvas. Will be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. But again, once you start it, 1 hour and 15 minutes, which is the same duration of our regular classes. And the final exam, 2 hours after you started. But also will be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. in Canvas on the exam day. When is the exam day? I'm going to show you here in the syllabus in the table that we're going to see later here. Quizzes will also be available in Canvas, and they open, oh, sorry about that. They will open not at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. was the time from the previous semester. Our class finishes at 12:25, right? So quizzes will open at 12:25 p.m. on the specific class day that we will have the quiz, and then it's going to finish, it's going to close at 8 p.m. in the following day. So if we open one now on Tuesday, it's going to be open until Wednesday. Thursday is going to be open until Friday, the whole day, the whole next day. But once you open the quiz, you have 5 minutes to complete it, okay? It's going to be open for a long time, exactly because you might be taking other classes, might be working and so on, have other activities, but once you open, 5 minutes to complete. And again, you are allowed to look at your notes. It's all open book throughout the semester. This page here, I used to have it in a separated document, but I just prefer to move it here within the syllabus. It's really more detailed information about the quizzes, exams, and final exam, right? So quizzes, we're gonna have 2 questions at 0.5 points each, for a total of 1 point per quiz. It's gonna be from, sorry about this, 12:25 p.m. on the quiz day until 8 p.m. the following day. I will correct this in the website, in the syllabus. Online exam, 40 multiple choice questions, 0.5 points, and so on. 1 hour and 15 minutes, final exam, 2 hours to complete. No password is required. The multiple choice questions will be randomly selected by Canvas from a question bank. And so the question will not be the same for all the students. And once the exam will shut down by 8 p.m. of the deadline. So if you start too close to the deadline, you might not have all the full time of 1 hour and 15 minutes to complete it. So try to open it at least before, I would say 6 p.m. on the exam day, okay? So you have the full time. You see only one question at a time. Kind of like try to make some time management instead of like doing the first questions too quick and the last ones you have some extra time. Just pace yourself. So you pretty much will have 2 minutes and 30 seconds per question on quizzes, 1 minute and 52 seconds on exams, and 3 minutes per question in the final exam. The final exam is not cumulative. So actually the final exam is easier because it's the same amount of questions and you have more time. The exam that students usually have more trouble because of the topic is exam 3. The exam that students have usually more trouble is exam 3, exam 3, exam 3, exam 3. I'm repeating this so you don't say that I didn't tell it. It's about mortality. The topic about mortality, life table, students have more trouble. So be careful about that, right? That makes students have a lot of trouble passing the class. Suggestions for internet connection. I would suggest to you taking all exam and quizzes in a laptop or in a computer connected to the university wireless system. You might have, of course, internet at home, but it usually is more unstable. You might have some more problems. I suggest you taking it here. If it's not possible, just be careful with the quality of the internet connection that you have there, okay? If you have problems, tell me, try to contact me during the exam day. Sometimes problems happen, but so far, I think the university has been really good with the overall system here, the IT system has been working nice, and it usually is because students start the exam too late and they don't have the full time to finish it. And students can say, oh, I just answered 10 out of the 40 questions and the system shut down. I can go inside Canvas and see exactly the questions that Canvas showed to you. And in some cases, students had answered all the 40 questions. So just tell the truth because it's really easy to find the truth in Canvas, okay? This is the, I wanted to make a parenthesis here. This is really easy, right? Really easy course. Everything is open book. You can take it home anytime during that day. Of course, you have the limit for quizzes, for exams, and final exam. Everything open book. I don't know why. And I wanted to share that with you to be transparent. Some professors don't like to do that because they say that creates anxiety in the students. I think it's better to be transparent. These were the grade distributions in my class, Sociology 312, in these previous semesters. I started with this online exam, first in eCampus and now in Canvas in the spring 2022. Before that, students would take the exam in the classroom, right? Before the pandemic, it was all in paper. And the grade distribution here was kind of okay, right? 24% A's, 50. And here, spring 2019, I had a really small classroom, only 16 students. That was the last semester of Dudley Poston. He had 130 students, I had 16. So, but the 16 that were my class, I guess it created a little bit more bond between me and them. They asked more questions and then they did better. That's why I say, if you have questions, don't get intimidated by the other students, just ask, right? It creates debate, it's good. But then during the pandemic, when I moved into this eCampus and now Canvas system, the grades start to drop. So here is pretty much the absolute numbers, right? The number of students that got each one of the grades, and here's in percentage terms. And dropped from 23 to 19, 11, the last semester, only 8% of students got an A. 6 out of 72. And I intentionally wanted to put there the Q drop. 15 students dropped, 20% of them dropped last semester by the Q drop deadline. So I have like some major comments to make here. If this class is required for you to graduate, and if you are graduating this semester, by the end of this semester, or if you need a C for this course to be counted towards your degree, there is only one thing and one thing you have to do: study, right? And what is study? Watching the lectures, which can be face-to-face or on YouTube. Taking notes, reading the textbook, reading the slides that I posted in the website, pretty much that. And if you want to do the study groups, that helps as well. Right, textbook, slides, watch the lectures, I forgot the other ones. Take notes and study groups. If by the end of last semester, I had like 72 students, right? And like around like 8 only showed up to the class because attendance was not required. And if I counted the number of students that were coming face-to-face and the ones that are watching on YouTube was much lower than 72, I cannot make any miracle. It looks easy, but you have to study to pass a class, right? 20% Q drop. And I know that you guys have a limitation of how many classes you can Q drop throughout your degree. So if you don't think you can do these basic 5 things, which in summary means study, just drop the class now, okay? Just drop the class now. But if the class is required and you have to get a C on the class, then just study. And if you like it, let's stay here and have fun, okay? Yeah, question? I mean, it's just the system, it's already really easy, right? Because it's open book. And it's open book. I think if like in up to the fall 2019 or up to spring 2020, before the spring break, all my exams were in paper. And of course, in paper, students can come back and forth, but they could not open the book. They could not see their notes. With this electronic system, of course, it would be really hard to ask students to don't look at their notes. So I give that advantage, but then they can see one question at a time. And one good thing is like the questions on quizzes, they come from the same question banks as the exams. So there is a chance that the same question that you got in a quiz will appear on your exam. And you will learn on quizzes the style of my questions. So you prepare yourself to the exams as well, right? So that's the main idea. So this is not good, 20% of Q drops. This is not good, only 8% of A's, right? So it's just a matter of being clear about that since the beginning of the semester. Sounds like as an easy class with this crazy professor with a long hair from Brazil, weird accent, but you have to study. Okay? You have to study. And now the table with the specific topics that we have throughout the semester. Now we are discussing the syllabus, and if we have time here, we will start on chapter 1. And here I pretty much mentioned which chapter from Poston book, chapter 1. And this semester I put it here, next Monday, 1 week from now, is the last day for adding, dropping courses for the spring semester without penalty. And you see that after that date, that's when the quizzes start. Because some students might enter to this class by Monday, and then they would have missed quizzes. So I start quizzes after that deadline. So by the end of our third class, which I hope we will finish the chapter Introduction to Demography, we will have quiz 1. Quizzes are cumulative, right? So if we are here on quiz 5, I can ask questions to you about any other topic that we discussed before. The exams are about the material discussed on these lectures here, 1 through 7, for exam 1, for example. If we get delayed, if we don't cover up to the end of chapter 12 by this date, the exam 1 will still happen on February 10th. And we will cover the material that I discussed here from day 1 to day 7, okay? I keep the dates of the exams the same. I do not change the dates of the exams, exactly because you can plan yourselves. You have the dates of the exams. The content might change, and usually the content is less than what is written here, because I usually take more time to cover up to the end of these chapters before I take more time than when we reach the date to have the exam 1. So quizzes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be here. So he will be already 5 points and then 20 points for the exam. Chapter 1 is about Introduction to Demography. Chapter 10 gives an overview about age and sex distribution in different countries in the world. And then we talk about world population change over time, population change in the US, and theories of demography. Theories of demography, it's really kind of like giving an overview of what previous studies learn about demographic changes in the human history. And it's a long lecture because we also focus on specific theories for mortality, for fertility, and migration, okay? Internal and international migration. Chapter 3 discusses sources of demographic information. Yep. Oh, when you should have the textbook. I would suggest reading the chapter 1 by Monday, right? So you can do quiz 1 on the next Tuesday. And oh yeah, I didn't show that, right? Good that you asked. I know that the university has the bookstore here, but I also just put here the link to Amazon, and the price varies a lot, even per day. But you can have the e-textbook, the paperback, hardcover, all different ways in Amazon. So it's you have different ways to get the textbook with cheaper price. I'm not making advertisement of Amazon, and maybe you can find it cheaper in other places or even here at the university bookstore. But I just wanted to show this link here as well. And then you can have it as a e-textbook instead of in a paper format if you prefer. But yes, I would suggest you reading the chapters and the lectures, the slides, before taking the quizzes. Right? So that's an overall suggestion that I would give to everybody. Yeah, thanks for asking that. So theories of demography. So here we pretty much go from chapter 1 to chapter 10, 12, 13, and then go back to chapter 2. So I kind of showed the data a little bit in chapters 10, 12, and 13, and then I go back to theory, show sources of data where we can get data for free and do analysis of demographic indicators, and then go into each one of the components. Fertility, on the day 16, we have exam 2, continue with fertility afterwards, after spring break. Mortality, and here that's what I said, exam 3 is the one that usually people have more trouble. It's whatever exam that covers life tables, right? Just remember, what is life table? Life table is pretty much a table in Excel that I'm going to show you to you here. We can do in other statistical softwares or packages, but I do in Excel. Life table pretty much estimates the life expectancy at birth, the average number of years that people lived based on the mortality rates that we have in a specific country in a specific year. And during that calculus, during that estimation of that indicator, can be a little tricky and students have trouble understanding it. I expect it to be covered in exam 3, but it could be later. After mortality, we have internal international migration, and then we have the final exam. And the deadline for Q-drop is over there, April 19th. There are other chapters in the textbook that I will upload the slides into the course website, but at this point, I'm not expecting to cover them in the classroom. And these are these chapters here: family and sexuality, contraception, birth control, which are within the fertility topic in the textbook, race and ethnicity, population distribution, population policy, and Earth in the 21st and 22nd centuries. Race and ethnicity, population distribution, population policy, even contraception and birth control, all these subtopics I also cover in other chapters throughout the semester. I just will not go in detail on each one of these chapters, okay? But the slides, if you want to download, they will be available in the course website. The Department of Sociology, we usually have courses that can be really controversial, the topic, and we have experienced some issues whenever there is debate in the classroom. What we wanted to emphasize to students is that the debate is really, really good to have in the classroom. It's really, really good to have controversies on topics related to demography, to sociology. But here in the classroom, your position has to be based on science, on scientific facts, right? So that's what we are focusing here. And let's just be respectful to other students and to the professor as well. That's pretty much what this statement about diversity and civility is showing here, that was elaborated by sociology faculty, okay? So let's just have kind of healthy debates in the classroom. Hate speech will not be tolerated. So let's just create a nice environment here. In terms of class participation, I will not take attendance in each class, as I just mentioned. So you are responsible to watch the lectures either in person or on YouTube, read the textbook, take notes, read the slides, and study in groups with other students. We have the University Writing Center here in the university. I mean, all these exams and quizzes that we are going to have here, they are all multiple choice exams. These last semesters, even those grades that I showed you that they don't look good, I did end up giving extra credit assignment to students. In some semesters, I think like most of the semesters, I gave extra credit assignments worth between 6 and 10 points. So students could actually change a full letter grade if they got the 100% of assignments. And then the assignments are pretty much short essay questions. In that case, if you have any trouble writing those, understanding and writing your ideas into the paper, you can look for some support from the University Writing Center, or you can also contact me if you have any questions, okay? Electronic devices, just use computers and whatever related to the topic that we're discussing here now. Take notes, look at your these slides and so on. Just try to focus if you're in the course, if you are in the classroom. And if you're tired, if you want to sleep, if you don't feel like being here, just don't come. Just watch the lecture afterwards on YouTube. Okay, it's much better. You can pause, you can do whatever. The student course evaluation. Nowadays, it's done in this AFES website. What I have been, at the university, we have the issue of a low percentage of students answering this course evaluation. Course evaluation is pretty much what you guys think about me and about the course, right? What did you learn and so on. But a really low percentage of students have been doing it. What I tried to do, the Senate said that we cannot give points to students if they answer, if a specific percentage of students answer the course evaluations. So that's the university rule. But what I can do is, if a specific percentage of students, let's say if 90% of the students answer the course evaluation, I can give you extra credit assignment, right? But that will be discussed later in the semester, right? So that's not against the rules, right? Office hours are not intended to teach again what I did here in the classroom, are intended to answer questions that you might have. And everything is going to be on Zoom. So you can have your notes, it's easier for you. You can look at your computer while you're talking to me. It's more productive than you spending the time to come to my office. But just prepare yourself. It's not another one-on-one lecture office hours, okay? Late work policies. Students are not allowed to submit their coursework after the due date. And you are allowed to take the quiz on a later date or the exam on a later date if you have an unexcused absence. And that's what I'm going to talk later on here, right? But deadline is the deadline, okay? And I have been really flexible. Students can just email me the doctor notes or whatever thing that they missed the exam. And I can reopen the exams in Canvas. And I will go through this here right now. The university views class attendance and participation as an individual student responsibility. So you are expected to attend the classes and complete all assignments. But the student rule 7, the university has information about excused absences, right? And then you can go there and look exactly what are specific absences that you can come to me, or you got sick, or you have an accident or something that is listed there in Student Rule 7, just contact me by email, right? Always by email is the way to contact me. And you can send all this information as in attachment. The instructor is under no obligation to provide an opportunity for the student to make up work missed because of unexcused absence. So it has to be an excused absence to be able to do an assignment afterwards. Academic integrity statement and policy. An AG does not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate others, or tolerate those who do. I mean, I ask you for the exams and final exam and quizzes should do it individually. You can study in groups, but just take them individually, right? And maybe I'm giving ideas here of everybody getting together and answering it together. Let's do it in the correct way. Exams, quizzes, and final exam are supposed to be answered by you and you only by yourself with whatever notes you might have on your side, okay? The Americans with Disabilities Act, students with any kind of disability can contact disability.tamu.edu, the disability resources, and they will send me an accommodation letter. Some students request more time to do quizzes and exams. Some students ask copies of my slides and recorded lectures and all this stuff. All of this is already there, right? Most of the recommendations that students ask, it's already there because all my lectures are recorded on YouTube. All my slides are available to download. The course textbook is there, available to buy. Everything is there. And I don't have any, I don't take attendance. But if you missed on the quiz or exam because of any issue, then just follow the student rule number 7. But students with disabilities that need more time, I mean, for any disability, for any accommodation that you might need, you should go to the disability resources. They will send me the letter and I will reply to you. And for students that need more time on Canvas to answer quizzes or exams, it's easy for me to change that. I can change that for each student that need that kind of accommodation. Title IX and Statement of Limits of Confidentiality. As you know, when we receive emails from the university, there are a lot of issues in the university still related to sexual harassment, sexual assault, discrimination, and so on. And all faculty in the university, including me, you can come to us and report any kind of issue that you suffered related to discrimination or harassment, for example. But faculty, like me, we are mandatory reporters. If a student tell me a problem that the student had, I have to tell my immediate boss, usually the department head, the head of the sociology department. And then the head of the sociology department contacts the student. And if the student said, oh, I don't want to pursue anything anymore. Okay, it stops there. But I just should say that I'm here to help. If you face an issue and you want to share, I'm here. We can have conversations one-on-one, in person, and so on. But it's just to say that I'm a mandatory reporter. Anything that's reported to me, I have to pass it into my immediate supervisor, okay? And here in this statement, this link, Title IX webpage, you have a lot of specific phone numbers and addresses of specific centers in the university and outside of the university that you can also look for help. Any students with any kind of like mental health issues, a lot of pressure during the semester, trying to graduate and so on, the counseling and psychological service is a really good place to go, CAPS, right, to be contacted. And all the links can be found here, and you can contact them to get any help you might need. And yeah, so exactly here, a TAMU helpline, the time, and also another link for people who might be having issues with mental health and wellness. Okay, so if you need help, tell me or contact any of these other resources that the university provides to us. Okay, just communicate. This statement here is the same one as from last semester. It didn't change on the university website. I just checked it last week. If you test positive for COVID-19, just complete the COVID-19 report form. So you just go here and complete it in this link. And towards the end of the page, you have this question here. What in-person classes or events did you attend in person starting from 48 hours before symptoms started? If you attended this class, just put information here of the class, the date that you came here, class name, course number, section, and my name. And all that information is available here in the syllabus, okay? So it's right there. So please include information about our course in this question in the form. I will keep using mask throughout the whole semester. I have been doing it throughout since the pandemic started. I'm fully vaccinated, but I have twins. They are 4 years old, so they cannot get vaccinated. They will get vaccinated now in April when they turn 5. And my son, when he was born, he was in intensive care for 1 week because of lung issues. So I don't want to pass or get COVID to him because that might affect him. So that's why I keep being careful. Although I might get sick, nothing's going to happen to me. I can pass to my kid who had lung issues when he was first born and is not vaccinated because he's not 5 years old yet. And the same thing could happen to my daughter as well, right? So that's why I will keep wearing masks until we have some more control of this disease. And here, the last portion of the syllabus are extracts from the student rule number 7, because if you click there on that link for the student rule number 7, so much information that you get lost. So I just simplified here a little bit. In cases where advanced notification of absences is not possible, the student must provide notification by the end of the 2nd business day after the last day of absence. So if you miss a class, or if you miss a quiz, or if you miss an exam, by the end of the 2nd business day after that, you should contact me, email me, even if you don't have a doctor's notification or anything like that. Just contact me. And excused absences are the ones listed on student rule number 7, section 722. So it cannot be just because you didn't feel like coming here today, you had a headache because you were partying the previous day. It's not that, right? The excused absence is a serious thing. 722, just go there and look at what are the excused absences defined by Texas A&M. Everything is listed right here, right? So if any of the reasons that you didn't come to the class is listed here, contact me by the end of the 2nd business day. If you take too long, then you cannot take the quiz or exam. And the documentation must be provided within 3 business days of the last day of absence. Okay, so just provide that, just contact me by the 2nd day and provide the documentation no later than the 3rd day after the last absence. And then I can reopen quizzes for you and exams for you in Canvas. The final exam, of course, is more difficult because it's right by the end of the semester, but it should be done too in that case. But the makeup work must be completed in a time frame not to exceed 30 calendar days from the last day of the initial absence. Nothing that's written here is from me. I just copy and paste from the university student rule 7, right? And it's just a summary of the most important things. Miss the quiz or exam. The reason is listed here on the excused absence as defined by the university. Contact me by the 2nd day after the last absence. Provide information, documentation by the 3rd day. Everything by email. Right? Email is good because then there is the record of when you wrote me and you sent the documents. So student must submit explanation about excused absence by email to professor with attached documentation. Cool. All great. Any questions? Oh, goody goody. So I showed the course website, the YouTube channel, the Canvas. So all this part here about course information and COVID statement is just portions of the syllabus that I included here. And this first, and here in the course website, I just like to go through it a little bit here. Course information, same thing as in the syllabus, as we just saw. Instructor details. Quizzes, exams are submitted on Canvas. And the way that I organize here, I have, for example, Chapter 1, Introduction to Demography. In the lecture, Chapter 1 is, I mean, I use this PowerPoint here and I just save it in PDF and I upload to this website. So you can download it right here. It's going to be exactly the same file. And Dudley Poston, the author of the textbook, he wrote a short article about what cohorts are, the definition of cohorts, and I just put it there. So I will put here some articles that might be interesting for us throughout the semester, some extra readings, right? That you can check it out. So it's just this short. That's Dudley Poston. And explaining each one of the cohorts that we had here and focusing in the US. And for each topic, I also post extra videos or extra material here in the website. For example, this video about an introduction to demography by Joel Cohen. In any of these links, that's what I was talking about, any of these links or videos that you click and they don't work, just let me know, okay? Because this could change and then I have to update here. This video is a little longer, it's 1 hour long. Hans Rosling, he used to be a public health researcher. He died some years ago. And he created this institute, like I think we could say an institute, Gapminder, in which they tried to create software, maps, slides. Now, can you hear me? Yeah, good. So Hans Rosling created this institute, Gapminder, in which he tried to create all these videos and software and everything that presented statistical information, demographic information, public health information in a more friendly way, right? So I really like his videos. This one is almost like 1 hour long as well. And it's just really cool. I mean, some of the slides that I have in my lecture, I pretty much got from some explanations that he makes here, like projection of the population by continent for the next 50 years, projection of the population by age group for the next 50 years. He just talks about this in the video and made some slides based on this, right? And I really like his videos. It's really easy to follow and to understand. This short video here about by the New York Times, the population bomb. Was like in the 60s, there was a lot of a controversy about whether we were growing too much as a society, as a human society, and the population was getting too big, that it would face all limited resources for food and for habitations for people. And some demographers came and usually more linked to biology, saying that we would face the same issues as other animals. But then there was a counter argument that we can develop new technology and then we can produce food in a much more efficient way, using less resources, and then provide even to a bigger population. So there's the debate that is done here in this video, in 13 minutes long. And I always forget, population bomb and how read, what's his reach? Yeah, I think I wrote it correct. This book by Paul Ehrlich, E-H-R-L-I-C-H, The Population Bomb. He is interviewed in that documentary by the New York Times. And he's still today, he wrote this book back in the 60s, 70s, 1968, he wrote this book. And he was saying, oh, the human society is going to enter into collapse because we don't have resources to provide to such a big population. And And then in this video that was done much more recently, he said, oh no, I was wrong about that some decades ago, but it is still the case. So it's still controversial. It's just interesting to see the debate. And there are some other demographers that make the counter argument against him by saying that actually technological advance, we have been experiencing these huge improvements in the way that we produce resources to our society since the Industrial Revolution. And we have not faced the issues that they mentioned in those previous studies, okay? So this is part of this video here. This is just a silly song about population, and you can hear that. But I will always put within each topic these extra videos or readings, right? So on chapter 10, age and sex composition, if you click here, it's not gonna work. It's gonna say that the file was not yet uploaded. But these other files here, this, for example, is an example of how you can create those age and sex pyramids for populations in Excel. And this file is a compressed, zipped file that you can download it and see how it's done. And I will show it when we cover chapter 10. Another video by the Population Reference Bureau about population age structure. And so for each one of these subtopics, I will have extra readings here or extra. They're not required to take quizzes or exams, but they are there, right? For mortality, that's the example of the life table. That's the one that I mentioned that it's already available to download, but of course, you're going to understand it when we cover it in class. And then after everything is, so we go here into international migration. International migration is really controversial because people say that immigrants hurt the jobs of US-born people. And what these researchers are showing is that that's not the case. And I just provide a lot of extra readings about that topic. And I will discuss that in the lecture as well. Final exam, and then those extra chapters that I will not go into detail into each one of them, but they will be covered throughout the semester. Feminist sexuality, contraception, birth control, race and ethnicity, population distribution, population policy, and the Earth in the coming centuries. And then here I have a lot of links that I will go through them more in the class about sources of demographic information. When I mentioned to you that there are a lot of places out there on the internet with public available data with related to demography. So I just organized some of them here. And again, some of those links might not be working. If they don't work, just let me know and I will update them. So links to get information about the pandemic, several links from the Census Bureau that has all different sources of data about the American population and also from other countries. Other places that have more demographic resources. And I will go through this with you in more detail in the coming weeks. Mortality, fertility data, migration, resources about refugees because of the Syrian civil war. There was so much data being compiled by the UNHCR, this UN agency, and I just organized those links here. And other surveys. Oh, there's a problem here. And Gapminder from Hans Rosling that I mentioned to you. And here also from the World Bank, from the Inter-American Development Bank. All these places have really good sources of data. Pew Research Center data. And overall, the Pew Research Center has a lot of like databases and also articles analyzing their own data. So they are a really good source of data and of demographic analysis as well. And here more academic associations and sources for literature review if you're working on a thesis, if you're working on a longer paper. These links here might be helpful for you to conduct literature review. Cool. Resources to write about numbers. These examples of tables and figures is pretty much a PDF file that I compile, that if you ever go organize tables and figures, I just show here how they're supposed to be formatted. That's just examples of how it's more about the format here. And these other sources of data also explain how to even interpret the data, right? Public opinion polls that are always so, people access it a lot during election years, and that's going to be this year as well. So I usually go look at those. It's not exactly demographic, but I just thought would be interesting because it's an important data source. And resources for migration information as well, more readings on migration, okay? But all that, I will cover more these data sources on this lecture here. Let me just show you on this lecture. When we cover chapter 3, the source of demographic information, I will go through some of those links and show you which kind of data each one of them provide, okay? Cool. So let's just start now the content of chapter 1. Here I subdivide the introduction into what is demography. I will show you the demographic equation. I will explain what are variables and observations, because these terms, variables and observations, are used everywhere in social science, and sometimes it's not clear for us what they mean. So variables, observations, and databases, it's also important to understand. I will talk about that. Then I will just give an overview of some data about the coronavirus pandemic. I have been collecting this data, kind of like I go into these specific websites at the beginning of each semester, and then I just show the evolution of the pandemic. And then just quick information about different kind of studies that we can do in demography, so demographic models. What is my main research question, and then how that is considered only a pure demographic study, what we would call like a formal demography study, or a social demography study. Social demography is when we link demography into other aspects of social lives, into sociology, economics, political science, geography, and so on. When we just do pure demography, formal demography, it's called formal demography, and I will just discuss it pretty briefly on that subtopic. On this subtopic about cohorts and generations, just explain what are cohorts and generations that we use a lot, these terms in demography. And that's why I added that extra short article by Dudley Poston in the course website. The Lexis diagram is pretty much a graph that gives us an idea of how the different demographic studies can be done if we are focused on a specific year, if we are following people over time, if we are looking at people with the same age over time. So the Lexis diagram kind of summarizes some of the different studies that we can do in demography. And also, by the end, discuss the differences between ratios, rates, and probabilities. These are different terms, and we have to be careful when we use them. So I will just explain what are the differences and why maternal mortality ratio is called maternal mortality ratio and not a rate. Why total fertility rate is called a rate and not a ratio, and so on, right? So that's why I want to, in this first lecture, in this first chapter, give you an idea of these major concepts in demography that we're going to use throughout the semester. So demography is the scientific study of human population. This term was coined by the Belgian statistician Achille Gilliard in his 1855 book, Éléments de statistique humaine, démographie comparée. So elements of human statistics or comparable demography. And pretty much he was the one who created this term, demography, and pretty much saying that any study that we try to understand human populations, the size, the composition, that's what we understand nowadays as demography. There is another sentence that's really well known that kind of says, oh, demography is destiny. We usually don't think anymore as demography as being so powerful. We usually think now demography is being part of human society. Demography is what are the changes that are going on in our society in terms of fertility, people having children, mortality, how often people die, and from which causes, where people move to, migration, how all these different aspects, people having children, when they die, what's the reason, and where they move to within countries, to other countries, how these things, how these demographic aspects, how these demographic components are associated with other aspects of the human population, right? We don't see demography as seeing the only thing we should pay attention, and that's going to dictate our future. How our society is organized right now in terms of fertility, mortality, migration trends and levels will help us understand other aspects of the society, economics, political science or politics, race, ethnicity, composition by marital status, all these different things, they are associated with changes that happen because of fertility, mortality, and migration. But this term, demography's destiny, is attributed to Auguste Comte, the French mathematician and philosopher, known as the father of sociology. So demography shapes the world, even if it does not determine it. So the main idea here is that population changes, they're important to us. And this issue, this pandemic that we have been living with it since the beginning of 2020, has to do with demography, has to do with public health, right? It is a really clear component of demography, which is mortality. But then the pandemic now, related to mortality, is affecting also fertility, is affecting also migration. Because of the pandemic, we saw a lot of unemployment rates increasing a lot in the countries. We have been seeing people having economic problems. When people face economic problems, they tend to postpone having children, so fertility drops. And because of the nature of the pandemic, what governments have been doing is to create barriers for people to don't enter the countries. We just saw now Djokovic could not play the Australian Open because he's not vaccinated. And real people like us, this is happening every day. People from Latin America try to enter the US, they have to show proof of vaccination, right? So that's mortality, public health affecting migration, right? Population change is an underlying component of almost everything happening in the world today, and therefore in the future as well. When I started teaching this class was before the pandemic, but now the whole class, we can have examples of how the pandemic is affecting all these different aspects of our society related to demography as well, okay? John Grant, who lived between 1620 and 1674, was an English statistician, and he is considered to be the founder of demography. He analyzed vital statistics of the London population. So he studied the bills of mortality. What are the bills of mortality? Weekly statistics of deaths in early modern London. So he studied death records that had been kept by London parishes since 1532. So he had all this data that he was collecting, and he tried to organize them. And he noticed certain regularities in the death phenomenon. And he published in this book, Natural and Political Observations Made Upon the Bills of Mortality. So he was the first one to kind of like compile all this information about death records and also people moving from one place to the other, when people were born, and so on, and try to systematize that. And he came up with some regularities that actually see even today in our societies. And some of these methods that he proposed, we even use today, right? So some of his substantive contributions. He recognized the phenomenon of rural-urban migration, people moving a lot from rural to urban areas based on the data that he was collecting from people, place of residence. And at that time, the urban death rate exceeded the rural death rate, which is the opposite nowadays, right? Population was divided most evenly by sex. More boys being born, but women living longer. That we see even today. And he presented mortality in terms of life tables. So the life tables that we have, students have been having issues here in this class, he presented the first idea of how to organize death in a life table back in his 1662 book. So right now is 12:25. We finished the class today. I will continue from here on Thursday in the same place, and I will post the lecture, the video on YouTube later today. Thank you very much, and see you guys on Thursday.